From Mothman and Nessie to the spirit that haunts your home, welcome to Bob After Dark, a podcast about legends, lore, and the supernatural. So turn your lights down and your volume up and enjoy your trip to the shadows.
Oh, hey there, children of night, and welcome to Bob After Dark, the show that takes you into the shadows and goes and says hello everything that goes bump in a night. I'm your host with the most that enjoys toast, Bob, and alongside of me, as always, is my ever wonderful, ever vampiric, ever the cape-wearing heart-throb of Bob After Dark himself, my friend, my producer, my true crime reporting person, partner, guy, Count Panic himself. Oh, hey there, Count.
Hey there, Bob. And, this won't make sense for any of the podcasting people out there, but as our duty of newsmen out there,
we did have
to go down the block to make sure something was okay. So I'm glad we did make sure it was okay, so we're good.
We had no business.
Yeah.
So, real quick, just so we can have like a reason of talking about this sort of a thing, right? Why we're bringing it up. Down the street, there was a ton of cop cars here and right by the studio, and because Count and I are part of the only news people on duty at WJOB, part of our job is to go wander down there and to go make sure what's going on. And,
we broke in and
we didn't break. We didn't break in. We went to go see if we could break the story.
We had to break in here.
The paranormal news, the paranormal. What's the word I'm looking for? Count. I hear something in the background, by the way, Count, on your end.
No, I'm just making sure.
Where the paranormal talk show is out there breaking news about something going on with the. Police involvement. But anyway.
Hopefully everybody's okay.
But we are not breaking news segments here on Bob After Dark. We're your weekly-ish paranormal show where we talk about legends, lore, and supernatural, things that go bump in the night, lights in the sky, and, of course, what's going on with Count Panic right now. Because he seems frantic.
What's the question?
Yeah, what's going on, Cal, over there?
What's the question?
The question of the week is, of course, Count Panic's favorite way of taking eggs over easy and scrambled.
Scrambled. I like scrambled.
Yeah. Okay, excellent. Are you doing okay back there?
Everything's okay. Just making sure down the street's okay.
Is everything good? Do we lose power?
No, it was flickering a little bit, though. We're good, though.
We're good.
Okay,
we're good. Excellent. Sorry about that, folks. I think that had something to do with what's going on down the street. But we're back. We're good to go, Count. So you enjoy the scrambled eggs.
Yeah, scrambled eggs.
Excellent. All right.
Yes.
So, it's a little jumbled to start.
Yeah.
Count, let's get a weekend update from you.
Bob had a nice weekend. Summertime still full in effect. The veil is not yet at its thinnest, but went out there. Yes, went out there and enjoyed what's left of these dog days of summer. Just kind of roamed around. How about you?
What did I do this weekend?
Something.
I got something crazy.
What'd you do?
Okay, you ready?
Ready.
I went to a all-night flea market.
All-night flea market. I think I've been there before.
You and I did it before.
Oh,
yes, we did the haunted all-night flea market. This was just the regular one over in Wheaton. That was a decent enough good time. Hung out with some good people. And then, you know what I did on Sunday? I got the house cleaned up a little bit, and the Halloween decorations are officially out.
They are up.
They are up. Slowly but surely, there's some organizational things that need to kind of get done, but there was a nice, brisk, cool breeze on Sunday, and it's just kind of in that mood to start on something. Usually Queen of Nights adamant about getting started early August. This time we started late August, and I think she was a little grumpy that we didn't start sooner. But, I could eat my words because it was 90-something degrees today.
90? It was hot,
It was a warm day.
I guess you can enjoy it still.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that was my weekend, and now here I am.
Here we are.
Sitting down, ready to get started.
Breaking the news.
Breaking news, yes. Yeah. So, as I was saying before, if this is your first time ever watching or listening to the show, we usually divide up the show into two segments. First segment of the week is where we have the weird, spooky news of the week. That is where you, the fans, or me, the host, will go online and search the weird, spooky news that is out there in headlines, anything from ghost sightings or just the weird and unusual or advances in science that borderline on science fiction. and then we dive into the lore of the week. And, I got a lot of compliments on last week's episode, so thank you, everybody that had an opportunity to go and listen to the Devouring Gourd and the Devouring Gourd and the West Virginia Vegetable Man episode. If I'm going to plug that one real quick. That was one of my favorite episodes I think I've ever done. I had so much fun with that episode. Had a lot of compliments on it, and that's probably one of the more well complimented people listen.
People like the Gourd episode.
People love the Gourd episode. Yeah. We had a lot of people that had the if there are 3 episodes that people always bring up to me when they bring up the show to me, like I have fans that are like, I'm a big fan of your show or whatever. But when people have specifics, I would say the Father Maginot episode is like the top one that people always seem to go to and bring up. In fact, we just had somebody over the weekend reach out and said they wanted to watch the episode live when it was live on video via Jed TV. So I would say the Father Maginot episode is a big popular one.
Yeah.
And then the Bishop Long that we just did, that one was pretty popular. And now the man-eating gourd. The devouring gourd. Are you okay?
Yeah, the man-eating gourd.
Gourd. So, but anyway, we dive into and so our first news article is actually one that's based in science. That's almost like science fiction.
In science.
I will read the article to you because I think Count needs to queue up what I
sent.
Oh, yeah.
So, I got that here.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So let's dive in here.
Right.
This one comes to us from our old pal Tim Banal.
All right.
Coast to Coast AM, because this is breaking news as we start the
show. More
breaking
news.
This is actual paranormal, spooky breaking. It's not paranormal, but scientific breaking news that I would say is warranted to be talked about here on Bob After Dark. So we read it as NASA has released an eerie audio clip which features the rather unsettling sounds of a black hole located at the center of the Perseus galaxy cluster. Initially produced by the space agency back in May, the unnerving noises caught the public's attention when they were shared by the Twitter NASA account over this past weekend, which would have been a couple days ago. The miscommunication that there is no sound in space originates because most of the space is a vacuum, providing no way for sound waves to travel. The space agency said that with the caveat of the galaxy cluster is different because it has so much gas that they were able to extract sound waves from the celestial location. The sound waves emitting from the Perseus black hole was actually discovered back in 2003 when astronomers found that pressure waves sent out by the black hole caused ripples in the cluster's hot gas that could be translated into a note. While that noise would normally be inaudible to human ears, the space agency extracted, amplified, and remixed the sound waves earlier this year to produce a sonification, which they described as a translation of an astronomical data into sound. When the audio clip was posted on social media just this past couple of days ago, it quickly went viral, with many people marveling at the haunting nature of this noise. Right. Now, I have a couple things I want to add to this, but let's cue up the clip.
All right, you ready to go?
Yeah, hashtag cue it up, Count.
All right. Here we go. Haunted house.
So, fun fact, that was we'll play it again.
Turn it off. There we go. Yeah, it's eerie.
Okay, so that was not one of those stock Halloween haunted house records you sometimes find at antique stores. Which, by the way, if you find those, I love those. I'll take them. That was from the black hole. Now, we'll get the hashtag Panics take here in just a second. First thing, I just want to say this is absolutely horrifying, but this is not the first time we were ever able to translate what something sounds like in space. The way that they were able to take like the data and compress it into sound, they actually did with Saturn about maybe 10 years ago, and the Saturn one is absolutely horrifying. This one is a lot more spooky atmospheric. Does that make sense?
I hear you. Spooky atmosphere.
This is, out of the two sounds, nothing sounds pleasant in space. The one is Saturn. I recommend you guys go check that one out. It's very popular on YouTube.
Yeah.
Be prepared. Don't listen to that loudly. It was something up somewhere. And then the second part is this black hole one, which I think is atmospheric. But who cares about my opinion, because it's the hashtag Panic's Take.
Well, Bob, it's very eerie. It feels like you're in a haunted house listening to that right there. But you know what? Creepy. We don't know much about space. We claim we know a lot about space. We do space exploration, but we truly don't know much about space at the end of the day. So the truth is still out there, Bob, but very, very creepy. Very creepy. I wouldn't go there.
You wouldn't go there?
No.
To a black hole? I mean, eventually, we're going to end up in a black hole. That's the idea, is that a black hole is going to kind of devour everything at some point. This is so far in the future, we won't be here, hopefully. I'm assuming that humans would either go extinct or leave Earth. My assumption is probably to go extinct first, because I don't know if you're aware of this, Count, but humans are a very stupid species.
We are, yes.
We're very dumb.
Yes.
That's an absolute truth. So that's where we've started with. I had to share that because it's absolutely horrifying.
Yeah, horrifying.
Yeah, and that's a breaking news.
Well, more breaking news on
it's
top
not
of
as breaking news,
no.
but it's definitely
just came out today, though, didn't it?
Yeah, they posted it on the Twitter. But I obviously this was shared to the NASA Twitter as well, so we have to give credit to NASA, I suppose. But it's just now kind of picking up speed in the viral world.
We don't have. Well, I guess NASA deserves some credit.
Yeah, well, obviously they do. They're the ones. It's not. But I just want to say it's very fascinating the way they did that. And I also want to point out that it's fascinating. It takes a couple days for somebody to discover like an astronomical like phenomena like this to go viral, and it takes days for that. Where sometimes like something a lot more silly can become viral in like a day.
Anything could happen.
So let's make Bob After Dark viral, Count Panic. Hashtag Bob After Dark. Make sure you put that on your social medias. Let's get trending for something positive.
Yes.
Don't say anything silly with that.
No, never.
We don't want to trend negatively. But a good trend.
Yeah,
a good trend would be great.
Although they say any press is, well, maybe that's not true.
Let's not go there.
In this day and age.
All right, you ready to move on?
Yeah, sure.
All right, Count. So I got this next one from Oddity Central. Sometimes I troll Oddity Central for, articles of the weird and paranormal and spooky. I don't know if we have a caller. No? Okay. We do. Let's take them live. Before we move on to the next article, take it live. You're on the air, caller.
Take it live there. Take it live?
You're on the air, caller.
We lost him. What do you think that was?
I don't know, man. This episode's got me a little jittery. Your energy's off, my energy's off.
There's stuff going down the block from us.
I know this is just kind of weird. Listen,
keep rolling though. I like it.
Let's keep going. It's our Halloween special in August, I guess. Things are just real weird going on here. But like I said, I'll troll the Oddity Central website from time to time to get a spookier article, and sometimes their stuff is like spot on awesome. Sometimes it's a little strange, but this one I thought was fascinating because of some of the things we talk about, and we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But this article is titled "A Mysterious Geyser in Japan Has Been Gushing Out Water for 2 weeks Straight."
2 weeks straight.
2 weeks straight. That's a lot of water.
That is a lot of
joking. Water. Get your jokes out of the way now in your brains, but we're going to move on. A mysterious geyser that erupted in the middle of a forest in Japan of the Japanese island of Hokkaido, Hokkaido, has been shooting columns of water up to 40 meters high for the past couple of weeks. That's a lot of water. 40 meters, I think it's 3 feet to a yard, right? And then how many feet to a meter?
Oh, Bob, don't come on.
Okay, never mind.
We're comm majors.
For anybody out there that knows their conversion,
don't hit me with math.
That's a lot of water. The 40 meters is tall.
Yeah.
But I digress. Every year on August 9th, the small Japanese town of Oshimambi holds an annual summer festival complete with the traditional procession at the local Shinto shrine. However, this year's festival was overshadowed by an unusual occurrence a day before the event, when a huge geyser erupted in the middle of the shrine's grounds forest. Locals woke up to a steady roar, column water shooting up above a tree canopy, and an unmistakable smell of sulfur in the air. The mysterious geyser has been shooting up water for the past couple of weeks and shows no signs of slowing down. The mysterious geyser of Oceanambi has been interpreted as an omen by more religious folk. But the phenomenon is most likely has a scientific explanation, like a lot of these things do. However, I prefer the omen instead. The water gushing out of the ground at an impressive speed has a temperature of about 20 degrees Celsius, or for us here on the stateside, 68 degrees Fahrenheit, and it is a grayish color, and samples analyzed by scientists contain sediment. All of these factors suggest that the geyser is powered by a hot spring beneath the shrine. For the past 2 weeks, many curious travelers have been flocking to see the geyser in person. It is a sight to behold, and the water column continues to shoot up on the top of the forest it appeared in. The huge jet of water has allegedly been seen from miles away, and it's reportedly so strong that trees next to it have been completely stripped of foliage. While the geyser may have become somewhat of an attraction for tourists, some of the locals in the area have considered it a nuisance. The constant roar of the geyser and the smell of sulfur in the air means that many people can no longer open their windows, and the increased ambient humidity due to the water sprayed into the air makes it impossible to hang laundry. It's now been 2 weeks since the geyser popped up out in the forest outside the area, and it is yet to lose any steam. It's still going strong since it was on day one, and nobody really knows how long this natural phenomena is going to last. Hashtag Panics Take.
Well, I think it's just that, a phenomenon, Bob. Say that 5 times fast. But, some things aren't meant to have explanations. Some things are just kind of miracles of life, you could say, Bob. And I think this is one of those. Again, we're not going to measure it. We can't measure it because we're comm majors. But I'm just saying, it's one of those things that's kind of just a miracles of life. You got to take, what's it called? The half full, you got to take it a half full or half empty.
Yes.
The buckets. Buckets I'm talking about, Bob.
Yeah, some people are the half full, half empty.
Yeah. Same thing with the geyser.
I'm like, man, why are you giving me half a glass of water? Either way, well, I'm thirsty.
Yeah. Although I am drinking half a glass of water.
I got a couple bottles here, but I digress.
Yeah. No, but I think it's just a miracle of life.
Miracle of life. Yeah. Natural phenomenon. Natural phenomenon.
A wonder of the world.
Would you like to know the Bob theory?
You have science behind it?
I do not. Oh. I only play a scientist on TV. I'm just a normal, humble, everyday bird lawyer, if you will, or everyday Bob. This is weird. Yeah. Okay, understandable, right? They teach you in physics. I know this much. Every action has a reaction, right? Mm-hmm. And eventually, force dies down. Yeah. That's just reality. If I whenever you put something into motion, eventually it's going to stop being in motion. I think that's just the way natural
law of physics.
Yeah, exactly, right? You spin something, it's going to stop spinning at some point, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you're with me so
far. I'm with you. I'm following the math.
How is it that this thing's going to be a constant flow, like for 2 weeks that much? That's the Yellowstone. When those erupt, they only erupt for a little bit, right? I don't think they erupt and stay erupted for...
It's just like an abrupt.
Exactly. This is 2 weeks running.
Yeah.
It's a little strange.
Okay.
That's what I'm
Can't be a miracle of life?
I mean, it could be a miracle of life. That's fine. It doesn't defeat the fact that it's strange.
It is strange.
And it doesn't defeat the fact that this time-ish last year, the year before, when they were talking about the ocean being on fire.
Yeah.
It's a bit strange, don't you think?
The ocean was on fire.
The ocean was on fire and we were testing strange bombs that we were putting off in the ocean, and then the ocean was on fire.
The miracle of the ocean.
And now the spring has erupted and is erupted for 2 weeks straight. Miraculously at a religious site over a shrine. I think these are, don't get me wrong, I'm no crazy person. Just, your standard Bob at the end of the day. But, man, that's a lot of weird things that add up.
A lot of stuff going on.
Something under us is not too thrilled about us above ground. It's our downstairs neighbor beating on the ceiling saying, keep it down up there, in my opinion.
Well, okay. You brought some logic to it.
Cthulhu, perhaps. I'm not, I don't, we talk very little about the conspiracy theories in the world because it's not the type of show for that. But, people believe in those lizard people type things that live below ground. I'm not one of them, but maybe it's them lizard folk, or maybe it's the army of mole people. But something strange is going on.
Yeah. Well, something is going on, Bob, and I can't explain it. I'm just going to go for the miracle of life, though. The miracle of life. Geysers, Bob. Geysers.
Yes. Yeah. All right. You ready to move on then?
Ready.
All right. So this last one, we move from absolutely ambient horror that is a black hole to what is causing a sprout in Japan to a cursed refrigerator.
Cursed refrigerator.
Cursed refrigerator.
We all have those, don't we?
I'm going to say that one more time. Hashtag cursed refrigerator. I just want you to, I want to be on the same page as you. That's what we're talking about.
A cursed refrigerator.
Yes, okay. This one comes to us from the New York Post, written by Brittany Miller. Title of the article is Owner is Trying to Give Away a Cursed Refrigerator That Houses a Stepmother's Soul.
Okay.
Yes.
Stepmother's soul.
There's noises going on outside the studio, Count Panic.
Outside?
Yeah, right outside my window.
How do you know?
I just heard them. I don't like this. Anyway, let's move on.
Like a physical knock?
I heard, yes.
Oh, look.
Thank you so much. Let's move on here.
Go ahead.
So there's a cursed refrigerator, right? And it's apparently this fridge harnesses and hosts a soul. And now let me read the article. It's chilling in more ways than one. A free refrigerator offer comes with a catch. The kitchen appliance is likely haunted, the owner warns. My stepmother had a heart attack on our kitchen floor in the middle of an electrical storm, and her soul was transferred into the computer unit of our smart fridge, says the poster, which was distributed around London. And apparently the stepmother talks to them through this smart refrigerator. She has been subtly undermining me since, commenting about how many slices of cheese I've eaten, or whether I've properly put the lid back on something, they claim. The owner held out for a while and then decided they had enough, according to the Southwest News Service. I'm starting to feel completely unreasonable that she decided to live in our refrigerator, judging me on my culinary decisions, according to the poster. And I quote, she had to go. I'm going to read you. I'll post this one up on the Children of the Night page so you guys can see the ad yourself, but I'll read it for you. Top big bright red letters. It says "Cursed Fridge, free to collect." So you could collect this fridge for free.
There you go.
My stepmother had a heart, and it shows a picture. It says, my stepmother had a heart attack on her kitchen floor in the middle of an electrical storm, and her soul was transferred into the computer unit of the smart fridge. She has been subtly undermining me since, commenting about how many slices of cheese I've eaten or whether I put something back on my lid back on something. Whilst my wife finds comfort in her mother still being around, I'm starting to feel completely unreasonable that she's decided to linger on a refrigerator, judging me on my culinary decision. And this is in big capital bold letters underlined. She has to go. Aside from the soul within, the fridge itself is in complete working order, and I'm sure the unit would be far more agreeably housed with somebody who hasn't forced their perfect child into a life of mediocre servitude. And below that, their contact information is grayed out, unfortunately, because boy howdy, if there is somebody I've ever wanted to interview on this show, it is the people who believe that their stepmother is haunting them via a smart refrigerator. And we'll get to what I think about that here in a moment. The advertisement professes that the current owner is optimistic that the stepmother probably won't go after the next owner, and it's a great appliance if soul haunting is your thing. Aside from the soul within, the fridge is in complete working order, which is a big plus in my opinion, but we're moving on. And I'm sure the unit would be far more agreeably housed with somebody who hasn't forced their perfect child into a life of a mediocre servitude, they wrote. It appears the owner is so desperate to get rid of the refrigerator, the ad claims that it is free to collect, and interested parties can call the number listed. According to the Southwest News source, it actually isn't the owner's phone number, but that of a kitchen showroom. Employees there have been receiving maybe 100 calls asking about the cursed fridge, so Twitter users, meanwhile, are thinking it's all a prank. Interesting that the use of the word stepmother from what is clearly the person's mother-in-law, one person correct. I have things to say, but my opinions matter least.
Well, yes.
To Count Panic himself.
Again, it could be another miracle of life. I'm going to think that there's some hanky-panky going on here, Bob. I think there's something, some conniving going on.
Wait, hold on. Some what?
Conniving?
No, before that.
hanky-panky.
Do you know what that means?
Yeah, there's some hanky-panky going on here. There's some silliness going on around here.
That's not what that means.
You can say hanky-panky for a few different things, but there's some hanky-panky going on here. Wow, what's wrong? Hanky-panky.
Quit saying it, man. Go on.
Say hanky-panky.
There's some shenanigans. Let's use shenanigans. Let's use that term.
Going on. I think hanky-panky goes for a lot of things, but shenanigans as well. I think there's foul play here. By the way, update on the window. I looked outside the window. I didn't see anything, Bob. So it must be your mind playing tricks on you.
My mind playing tricks on me. And listen, I'm not screwing around.
Are you trying to give us the heebie-jeebies?
I'm not giving anybody the hanky. I'm sorry. That was a joke. I'm getting the heebie-jeebies. I heard a knock right behind me as we're recording this.
Maybe somebody just walked by. And
they just decided to knock on the window after all that nonsense going on, or there are airwaves being hijacked. It's kind of weird.
Well.
Anyway, go on.
I'm just saying. I think that there might be some. I don't know how to explain it. Maybe you could do a better job breaking it down. Unlike the last story where I could say maybe it's a miracle of life, this one I think that there's some trickery being done here. Bob, is this the case? Trickery.
Why would you develop this kind of a story to give away a free refrigerator? Listen, if you were trying to sell it, I would understand 100% that you would come up with something wild like this to get publicity. Pardon. The number is going to a kitchen appliance warehouse.
Yeah.
Maybe it's them trying to I don't know. Okay. I'm not following the idea that it's a prank. I mean, the prank makes sense. Mm-hmm. I would say that there might be a prank. This is a long way to go to give me a free working refrigerator, and not even just a regular old, beer fridge that I keep in the garage. This is a state-of-the-art smart refrigerator.
Yeah.
That's a bit strange to me.
So there could be a correlation here between the two things.
Let's talk about what things can possess, right?
Yeah.
I wish Elliot was listening because he could chime in probably a little bit better than I can on this. But when you use a spirit box or an EMF reader or anything that a REM pod, anything electrical that a spirit can use to communicate with us, right? Typically, you see that in a very rudimentary, very basic way. You've been on investigations with me.
Of course, yeah.
So you might set up a REM pod and say, or, a trigger light or something and say, light up the red light bulb if you're here. And it takes a little bit. It's like, oh, you can, you have to almost guide it, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you do that with a spirit that's been around and has been investigated before. So if we're buying into the idea that a spirit is at that point intelligent enough to interact with its surroundings and it knows that the thing's there for them to kind of interact with, I think that stuff takes time. If you buy into the idea that a spirit can become more intelligent as it goes on. The stepmother is what's the word I'm looking for? That sounds like the stepmother was a little on the fresh side. Pardon me for a lack of a better terminology there, but a little bit more recently passed.
Yeah.
It's strange that they go and say that it caused the electrical storm was what killed her, I'm assuming. And that the electrical storm gave her the ability to transfer her soul. That's a bit weird. Because then you're talking about consciousness, right? It's not the spirit is manipulating the fridge. It's not like the spirit is opening and closing the door of the refrigerator. You follow me so far?
I follow you.
This thing moved consciousness from body to computer on refrigerator. That's where I'm hung up on. I don't know.
Well, you're just being you're bringing back the science into it, Bob.
What I'm getting at is it's not uncommon for a spirit to interact with electrical devices. When you use a spirit box, and if obviously you're on the believing end of the spectrum, if you use a spirit box or an obelisk or whatever it is that you're using,
yeah.
Then it could interact with that. But its consciousness isn't attached to it it's interacting with it in, I guess, a physical space. Does that make sense?
I think it makes perfect sense, Bob.
Are you just saying that to shut me up?
I think you no. I think you did it
because I'm baffled. I'm baffled at this.
You explain this, I think, as best as we can explain this.
It baffles me because I mean, obviously they could just be doing a prank.
Mm-hmm. That's what I said.
But that's a long way to go for a prank to get rid of a free refrigerator.
Hardcore prankers.
Dude, just put out, hey, I got a free smart refrigerator. I guess so then people aren't asking questions. Oh, why is this, very expensive appliance going out for free? Maybe that's it. Maybe they acquired it, and I'm not accusing the owners of anything. I'm just saying maybe they acquired it in questionable ways and they need to get rid of it, and the best way they could do that with people without asking questions is this is haunted, and they come up with this really elaborate story.
That makes sense too. Well, Bob,
listen, I've covered a lot of news stories on the show. Yeah. There's not too many I could say that has legitimately left me puzzled.
This one has.
And this fascinated that I'm going to be thinking about for a while.
They baffled Bob.
They baffled me. It's a very weird prank to do, but I also don't understand the paranormal aspect of it because that would go against any kind of spirit interaction I've ever heard of. That thing would be like legitimate, like changing the idea, right?
Changing the ideas. Bob, we do have a call. Now, here's the thing. Last time we took a call, it was a ghost.
It was a ghost. So this time it's going to be John.
We don't know. It could be.
Caller, you're on the air.
Hey, what's going on with them phone lines over there, Bob?
John, did you try calling a little bit ago off chance?
No, I heard that.
That's weird. That's real weird. Maybe it was my dad calling in.
Maybe.
That's weird. There's somebody banging on a window over there.
You heard that then?
A lot of hanky-panky going on.
John, there's some weird things going on in the studio tonight. Maybe it's my dad. Maybe he finally made his way down to the studio. Say hi.
Laughing his head off up there,
Probably.
Yeah, he said, I'll fix them guys. I'll show them. Time to have a little fun.
Yeah. Right. What's on your mind tonight, John?
The White Sox are losing anyway, so he figures probably
Jeez.
I'm going to give up on them. Hey, when you open up a refrigerator, the light comes on, right?
Right, yes.
How do you know it goes off when you close it?
Oh, good question.
I will tell you how I know it goes off.
How do you know?
Because
out there, since you talk about refrigerators and ghosts, I guess it ain't really a ghost.
I will tell you, this is the part where the hardcore fans that have listened for forever, they're like, why are you talking about this? And I will tell you, because I'm a person, and my mother will attest that I press a lot of buttons. Like physical, I will press a button if I see a button, right? I have pressed the sensor button on refrigerator, like the little lever where it turns the light off when the door hits it. So I do know the light does turn off.
I never thought about that. I thought it was a trick question. Not that I wanted to trick you, but I never thought about that. Yeah, you can press the button from the outside without closing the door, right? Well, it was the answer to my question that I really didn't.
Thanks, John, for calling.
Science.
Bob, you're really on the ball like always.
I appreciate you, John.
I appreciate you, Bob. So, hey, you have a good show. I'll be listening.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Folks, do you want to be like John?
Who knew?
219-845-1100.
Who knew that's what happens when you close the fridge?
I thought it was common knowledge, Count.
Some people don't know. And how would we really know? We weren't.
219-845-1100.
Yeah.
That's you could call in live if you're podcast land. You can't call in live, but you could call in if you want to hear your voice in on a future episode of the podcast. Tuesday nights, 9 p.m. Central is typically when we're in the studio.
Don't we used to have a hotline?
Google Voice has been screwing with that. Yeah. Once I get it figured out again, I will have it back up and running, and people could call the hotline again. I will tell you that's Google Voice's fault, not mine.
Yeah. Well,
all right. So the fridge, I don't know, man.
We'll leave it at that.
It is an interesting story. I will link that to the Children of the Night page. And listen, if there is any person on the planet I need to interview, I need to find these people. Like, I need to ask them questions. Like, this isn't just a quick, Bob's being funny or the ha ha ha. No, I need to know. There is a mystery to be solved about this refrigerator. Who ended up with it?
Yeah.
I need to talk to you. Yeah. I need to run some tests. We're going to do an investigation on this refrigerator. I'm not joking.
No.
I'm dead serious.
Yeah.
Anyway, Count.
Yeah.
You ready to take a quick break?
I'm ready, Bob.
All right, for our podcast fans, stick around. You're about to be hearing words from a fellow podcast that you should be listening to. And for our live fans, we'll be right back. Stay tuned.
This is Mike.
This is Jacob.
And this is Matt.
We are Moth Boys,
a podcast on cryptids, conspiracies, and the unknown. You can catch us every other Monday on, actually, wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Thank you.
And we're back.
Wow.
What was that?
I was going, wow.
That was wow.
Yeah, wow.
Owen Wilson, eat your heart out.
Yeah.
Hi, Count Panic.
Hey, Bob, how's it going?
Well, it's going well, Count. What'd you do during break?
During break, well, I got into a lot of hanky-panky, Bob.
Oh, jeez.
Just all over the place. But, Bob, realistically, and I'll tell you that right now, I checked on the fridge.
What did you find?
The light.
Did you see if your refrigerator was still running?
The light was, yeah.
That is a missed opportunity for all of you out there that are listening live. Yeah. That could have been like, oh, this is the time I could call and prank Bob after dark. Oh, is your refrigerator running? Well, too late, folks. 219-845-1100.
That's why I checked out.
It is too late for the refrigerator.
I checked out to see if the fridge was running. What'd you do, Bob?
Count, I took up a new hobby.
What'd you take up?
Competitive yo-yoing.
Yo-yoing. How would that go for you?
You use those classic Duncan yo-yos, and you do the tricks.
Yeah.
The walk the dog and the cradle.
All that.
Yeah,
and you got it done.
I did.
You're an expert.
I am now a gold medalist in yo-yoing.
You don't see that enough. That's good.
It's not the 90s anymore when the yo-yo was trying to come back to be a cool toy.
More kids need the yo-yo. Yeah.
I appreciate you.
Bring it back.
I appreciate this podcast. I'm happy this is my gig.
Yeah, yo-yo podcast.
Welcome to the Yo-Yo Cast.
Yeah.
This week we're reviewing the Duncan butterfly.
Yeah,
that's the only thing I remember.
Walking the dog.
We talked a little bit about the cursed refrigerator. We talked a lot about the cursed refrigerator before. It is interesting. I'm not going to let that go.
Yeah.
But we go from cursed refrigerators to cursed items.
Yeah.
We're talking about a specific type of item tonight, and that is a painting.
A painting.
So when you look at the idea of what let's use the concept, and I hate to use this idea, but the idea of a spirit possessing a doll. It is a vessel for that doll to the spirit to kind of inhabit and can then do whatever it's going to do to manipulate its space around it and move around. I just use that. Don't send me dolls, please.
Don't send dolls, yeah.
But what if a spirit can possess something else, like a refrigerator, but exist in a physical space and that can manipulate the space around them based on people looking at said object? That's the topic of this week's Lore of the Week, and that is haunted paintings. And believe it or not, there's more than one. So we've talked about on the show briefly about the painting of the boy who was that was causing home fires.
Yeah.
I always said we'd go back and we talk a little bit about that. We never did, but now here we are. We're going to be talking about haunted paintings, and I'm only going to be talking about one creepypasta in this because we've talked cursed images.
Yeah.
Well, once upon a time ago, you guys could go dig that episode up. It was a creepypasta lore month, I think, last year. You guys could go dig that episode up. I'll link it in the show notes below. You guys can go listen to some cursed images. But in this case, it's a legit. There's no creepypasta about it. These are real paintings that really exist. Whether or not there's supernatural properties to them is a whole nother, kind of a deal.
Of course.
So a lot of these paintings are accounted for, one of which was popularized on a certain show with a certain paranormal investigator who wears black frame glasses.
It sounds familiar.
It sounds really familiar. His name rhymes with Mac Maggins.
Yeah, on the tip of my tongue. There.
Zach actually had one of these paintings on his show, and it was actually probably one of the few times I've ever seen him truthfully horrified. But I digress. You ready to dive into a list of these paintings? I will share a lot of these images on the Children of the Night page after the episode comes out. So you guys could go. Once again, I can't stress you join the fan group enough. You guys could go on there and see them because it's hard to tell what the paintings are just by kind of me reading them to you, so it's better for you to see them. But let's move on. I got several of them we're going to go through. I'm going to tell you the what the painting's called and what the actual haunting or the curse is.
I'm ready for it.
Listed. Okay. Some of these the artist and the year that it was painted is unknown because some of these are really old. I'm going to try to do these in as much chronological order as I possibly can, starting with the earliest known one. And one of the earliest known examples of a haunted painting is called The Portrait of Bernardo de Galvez.
Okay.
The painting of the Spanish general Bernardo de Galvez, who lived from 1746 to 1786, at the end of the hallway in a hotel that bears his name, is said to have supernatural influence over photographers taken of it. Some claim to see a skull in the flash photography of the painting, and according to local folklore, visitors must politely ask of the ghost to take a picture of the portrait, or the photo will be ruined upon development. Or in this day and age, it will come out blurry if you try to take a picture of it with a digital device, or some cases and some stories say that the phone's batteries died instantly while trying to line up the shot.
There you go. That right there tells you something, doesn't it?
Yeah, you shouldn't probably be taking pictures of this.
Taking pictures.
Me, on the other hand, I'm diving right in. But that's same. That reminds me of the tale of a certain doll known as Robert. Mm-hmm. You're supposed to ask permission when you see him, have a picture of him, or see him, I suppose. That's part of that lore as well. I always find those interesting, where it's like I need to ask something permission in order to do it.
Well, even when you go on investigations, don't you ask permission? You ask permission, right? Can I go inside?
It's not my space. No. I'm coming in your house, man.
Yeah.
In this case, I'm staring at your face.
Yeah.
There's no listing of who actually is possessing the painting or who's haunting it. My assumption, it would probably be the painter, and I'll explain why. When you look at when you look at what a haunting is, it's the idea of an abundance of energy, right? Whether that energy is self-created or whatever it might be. You follow me so far?
I follow you.
When you paint something, you're putting a bit of your own soul into that painting. Does that make sense?
I get you.
Follow
yeah.
me? Okay, yes.
It's your work of art.
It's your work of art. So when you're painting it, you're leaving behind almost an essence of you. And there's a part of you in that painting. Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily think the person that's on said painting is the one haunting it, unless it's a self-portrait. We don't know. But whoever painted the portrait of Bernardo, I would say, is probably the one haunting this piece.
That makes perfect sense.
And maybe the piece was so special to them, they didn't want people to take advantage of that image and have photos of it, and for them just to enjoy on their own without paying for it, I suppose. Maybe that's the reasoning. It's a very interesting curse nonetheless. If you are on the skeptical side of things, I have an explanation for that too.
Well, what's the explanation?
No flash photography of the painting. You don't want it destroyed.
Okay.
Probably paid a lot of money for that piece.
Yeah.
Or it's been passed down, obviously, from generation to generation. All right, you ready to move on to the next one? By the way, you could find this piece of art history in Galveston, Texas, at the Hotel Galvez.
All right, Texas.
So it still hangs in Texas to this day for you to go see it.
Texas.
All right, you ready to move on?
Yeah.
Okay. Portrait of Henrietta Nelson. Once again, we're not too sure who actually painted it, and we're not too sure of what year it was done, but Henrietta Nelson was born 1734 and died in 1816. Died by falling down a flight of stairs in her home in Yaxley Hall, and was buried in a mausoleum on the property according to her wishes. However, years later, new owners moved in and destroyed the mausoleum, moving her remains to a nearby church. According to legend, she's been haunting the grounds ever since, trying to return home to her desired resting place. Her portrait has also repeatedly become imbued with her spirit, meaning it's possessed by her spirit, with the ghost following it wherever it's moved out of the house. Viewers have reported her face in the painting changing shape, and the pale figure with identical clothes walking the grounds. And even further reports than that, Count Panic, that when she is spotted walking around the grounds, can you guess what happens in the painting?
Well, what happened?
The figure is missing.
Okay. This is a standard story. This is one of those standard ones, I believe. That's a traditional lore, right? That's a traditional lore.
I'm not following what you're asking me.
The picture, this tale has been told before, I believe.
Yeah, I think we've talked about it on the show before. It's a fascinating story. I appreciate the fact that I don't know if I believe that the portrait is climbing off the painting and moving around. There is a childhood memory unlocked, I think, of an Are You Afraid of the Dark episode where that happened.
Could be.
Where the paint, or maybe it was a movie. Was it Young Sherlock Holmes? There's something in my brain, and my mom's probably screaming at the radio right now trying to get the answer to me. But in my brain, there's this image of this painting figure like climbing off, and it was like an early CGI thing. Anyway, I digress. But it's a kind of a spooky idea that this painting is alive, almost like in the beginning of the Hocus Pocus, where they cursed that girl to live in the painting.
Yeah.
Was that Hocus Pocus? Jeez, I'm goofing up everything today. Was that witches? It was Hocus Pocus, right?
It's been a while since
she grew old and died in the painting. Or was that witches? I don't know. Let's move on. So the concept of that, it's real spooky, real kind of a terrifying thing. In this case, I believe it's the idea that a spirit's energy latched onto something, because they say that the haunting moves from house to house when they move the painting. To me, that's a clear sign of an intelligent haunting of this thing latching onto it. Probably because it's familiar to Henrietta. Henrietta wants to be attached to something of power, and that's the image of herself. So that's the reason why I would believe that particular object is not necessarily cursed, but it's haunted by her, because it's a way for her to latch her energy onto something for her spirit to get carried on. Now, in my opinion, this actually it finally made its way home to Yaxley Hall in Suffolk, I think in the past 50 years. So hopefully her spirit has calmed down. I'm hoping.
You would hope.
I would hope. And I even just for the spirit's sake, if that's where she wants to rest and reside, let her rest and reside there,
That's the thing, Bob, and you're always respectful of that. Let the spirit remain at rest. Wise.
Okay, so the next painting, and this one, we actually have a painter. We have a year.
A year?
Okay, so the title of this one is Man Proposes, God Disposes. This is painted by Edwin Landseer, painted in 1864, and it's hung at the Royal Holloway, University of London. The painting is believed to be haunted and a bad omen. According to an urban myth, a local student once, unfortunately, decided not to continue living. I'll just say that during an exam by stabbing a pencil in their eye, writing "The polar bears made me do it" on their exam paper. There is, however, no university record of a death in the picture gallery. A slightly less morbid legend among students dating back to at least the 1960s is that anyone sitting in front of the painting during an exam will fail it. This has led teachers to covering the painting with a Union Jack whenever a student's examinations are going on. This one is I'm looking at this image now. By the way, the other two, it's just self-images, so it's definitely the person. Not too much of merit for me to describe what's going on.
No.
In this one, it's some polar bears eating cloth off of looks like a ship's sail.
Okay. That's a nice
And they look happy.
Yeah, that's the main thing.
But unfortunately, the first legend, not so good. And that's the ending there.
Yeah.
But then you fail your exams by looking at it too? Man, just get rid of the painting. I mean, covering it up is one thing, but man, all these bad things are happening. At some point, you're going to just want to get rid of the painting.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, if it's making you fail your exam and whatnot, I think it's time for the painting to go, right? But here's the thing. What can you really do with the painting? You don't want to do the wrong thing.
I'll take the painting. I'll take from cursed dolls to cursed paintings.
Dolls?
Never. I've had cursed dolls. Remember, I got these things
right.
that people send me. I don't want them, but I have them.
Yeah.
But the haunted paintings, you could send me those. I want all the haunted paintings.
Some to you. I don't want them.
I think Guys, if you have a cursed painting, send them. I'll put up our mailing address. Mail them to Count Panic.
I'll put it on the fridge. The cursed fridge. The cursed painting will go on the cursed fridge.
All right. This next one, I am not a speaker of said language, but we're going to try it. Is in a native of Spanish dialect. I don't think it's actual Spanish, but a Spanish dialect language. I can tell you it's hung up in the Philippines. It is My Novia, or Portrait of a Lady. This was painted by Juan Luna in 1890. Legend says that the portrait is of the artist's wife Paz, who Juan Luna murdered, possibly while working on the portrait. Juan was acquitted on the grounds of temporary insanity. According to legend, the painting is now possessed by the spirit of Paz, who brings misfortune upon its owners. Past owners have died in car crashes, been forced into bankruptcy, experienced miscarriages, and among other reported sorrows. Unfortunately for the legend, the woman depicted in the painting is actually believed to be Angela Duchay, a French woman who was not, in fact, murdered nor married to the painter. This is a case of a story that just built off of a painting itself, and the painting was just of a woman.
Just a woman, plain.
It is interesting how legends can get taken from that, though. Somebody probably just saw this really off-putting painting, which, by the way, nothing really exciting to describe in this one. It's just a woman.
Yeah.
But it's interesting how people can take a painting and they stare at it long enough and it was spooky or creepy or something, and that they just changed their mind with it.
Yeah.
Like they decided to make up this own legend from it, and it sprawled from there.
Sometimes you just stare at something long enough, any painting, you could feel something. I mean, there's a classic tale of the eyes, right? You look at the eye, the eyes are following you in the painting. But sometimes that's could be the case. Sometimes it's just your mind playing tricks on you.
I have a story revolving that.
Eyes are following you?
No, that there was a creepy painting hung up at my grandmother's house.
Yeah.
My adopted grandmother, Mama. My mother bought it for her when she moved into this house, and this thing was horrifying.
Yeah.
It's one of those velvet paintings.
Like the Velvet Elvis.
Yeah. This one's of a little girl holding a dog.
Yeah.
She's got like a red ponytail, and this thing looks demonic. That thing scared me so bad as a kid.
Yeah.
And when my grandmother unfortunately passed, my brother wanted to get rid of that painting. And my mom's like, "No, I got it for your grandmother as a gift."
Really?
I ended up with the painting.
Oh.
And
It
sits at my buddy Danny's house to this day, and that partially inspired this episode from that creepy.
Well, how about that?
My mom felt so bad. She's like, "I love that painting."
Yeah. Well, just because you like something doesn't mean you can't be get the heebie-jeebies from it. Too.
I have kept it to this day.
Yeah.
All right, you ready to move on then?
Sure.
All right, so this one, I'll describe the painting to you first. It is a bunch of sad, sorrowing people standing around the room in red and black and white dresses and sitting over a woman laying in bed who looks like she passed away. And then there's a depiction of a little girl in a red dress doing the Macaulay Culkin Home Alone scream pose.
Okay.
And it's a beautiful painting. Yeah. It's called The Dead Mother, painted by Edvard Munch. In 1899, you could find this at the Munich Museum in Oslo. Edvard Munch's mother and sister died, unfortunately, of tuberculosis when he was a child, and memories of that trauma were a reoccurring motif throughout his work. Munch also has influenced by the nihilist Hans Jager, who urged him to paint his own emotional and physiological state, described as soul painting, leading to his distinctive style. According to urban legend, Munch's painting of the dead mother is cursed. Perpetrating viewers have described the horrifying girl's eyes following them, like you said just a little bit ago, the eyes following as they move, and hearing a soft rustling sound, usually attributed to the mother's bed sheets who was passing away when near the painting, and occasionally the girl disappearing altogether from the canvas and has been seen walking around the museum as a transparent apparition.
Okay.
I got goosebumps telling you.
Yeah, I mean, that is very kind of a...
Anytime the thing leaves the painting, I'm all for it. It's absolutely terrifying. I love it.
Yeah, and again, it's one of those things that we're like, oh, geez, this is a classic tale. But I mean, I'm not doubting people. If this is occurring, this is occurring. Who are we to doubt these paintings? Who are we to doubt these paintings?
Doubting
Who are
paintings.
we? Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Yeah. Eerie.
You okay?
I'm okay.
All right. So this next one is probably the most famous on the list. You could find prints of this. This was on that certain Paranormal Investigators TV show. It's called The Crying Boy.
Okay.
We talked about this kind of briefly on the show before, but the Crying Boy was painted sometime in the 1950s by Giovanni Bragolin. The story goes that the Crying Boy is painted by the Italian artist that we said, and is a man behind the group of paintings known as the Crying Boys. So there's many series of these Crying Boy images, right?
Yeah.
Prints of the Crying Boy were mass-produced in the 1950s, and strange reports surrounded the pictures followed. British newspaper The Sun reported that firefighters would often find this picture in the ruins of the burnt house, and then this particular print was completely unscathed, and many believe that the image attracts fire and misery as the boys in the picture were unhappy. So wherever a print of the Crying Boy goes, apparently a fire is soon to follow. And this thing gives me...
This is
again, you like, it's a very pale looking like jewelry photo, like painting, and then you just see this kid's blue eyes like just piercing at you. Ugh, man, I gotta quit looking at it. But no, this thing apparently like causes fires.
Yeah.
Zach Baggins had it on his like one of the prints. It might have been the original.
Yeah.
I remember him kind of freaking out that it was there, but apparently it causes fires because of the sadness. Yeah. There's a lot of nonsense that the painter has kept these kids and painting. I don't know. Yeah. It's kind of strange that every print of the original piece was cursed, though. Yeah. So you know what the difference of print and the original piece is, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so like the copy of the originals are what's cursed.
Yeah, which is strange. You always think the original is strange. And then again, at that point, what do you do with something like that? Because if you burn it, it's like the Ouija board. Does it come back to open up a portal? There's a lot of factors that go into this.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, you ready for the next one then?
Sure.
Okay. The next one is The Hands Resist Him. This is another very popular one, painted by Bill Stoneham in 1972. Not too much is said about this one, but but in February 2000 it became known as the eBay Haunted Painting.
eBay Haunted Painting.
The eBay Haunted Painting. The painting was described as haunted because the previous owners reported that characters in the picture would move around at night.
That should sell.
To the point of completely leaving the frame. Not seen in the real world, but it exists in the painting and moved around. The painter of the piece also claims that both the owner of the gallery in which the painting was first displayed and the art critic who reviewed the painting died within a year after seeing the original image. It is a horrifying painting of two kids standing in front of an all like silhouetted door, and there are these hands just hanging out in the reflection of the mirror in the darkness. Horrifying.
Yeah. At that point.
And these kids look like,
get rid of it.
It's like this little girl in the front looks like a doll, and this kid in the front looks like a young Hank Hill. But this one's horrifying.
That does sound horrifying, Bob. And again, with all of these, you're kind of stuck with these paintings, aren't you?
If somebody has the
send them to you.
Send the hands. The painting again is called The Hands Resist Him. Let's move on then.
eBay. You can buy these on eBay.
You can buy prints of them. The next one we're going to talk about another very famous piece, The Anguished Man.
The Anguished Man.
The Anguished Man. The Anguished Man is I call it a watercolor, but it's a bluish sky background with what looks like a man on fire screaming in the foreground.
That would be Anguished.
It's the Anguished. He's just got that shocked look on his face.
He's on fire.
And it's not fire, but that's what like the skin tones looking like he's on fire.
Yeah.
So this was don't know when it was painted, Don't know who painted it. The owner recorded scraping, banging, crying, and moaning noise on the YouTube channel that this thing was featured on, and described the manifestation of fog in the house and the figure of a man who looked like the Anguished Man in the painting. Guests reportedly have had nosebleeds and experienced nausea while looking at said painting. So there's an actual paranormal investigation behind this thing, and fog appeared, giving people nosebleeds, and you see it. In my opinion, this thing's just going to haunt my dreams because it is absolutely scary to look at, man.
This one is even more terrifying than the last.
No, the Hansry system is definitely the scariest painting on the list, in my opinion.
All right.
Like that, I don't know who thought that was a good idea.
See, I don't know.
I mean, I'm not an art critic. I just play one on TV.
This is why, the only art I really like is dogs playing poker.
Dogs playing, I don't think that one's cursed.
Nothing cursed about dogs playing poker.
All right, next one.
Yeah.
That one's privately owned by this YouTuber. Good for them.
Yeah.
You reach out to me. I'll come over and check it out myself.
Good.
I've had a nosebleed. I can handle it again. Next one is the paintings of the Archville Gorky. This is painted by Archville Gorky. And Gorky's painting, and this was done between 1904 and 1938, and these paintings are scattered throughout the world. Gorky's paintings are rumored to be cursed, with paintings reportedly falling off the walls, which happens if you don't mount them correctly, catching on fire, which isn't very good, and being visited by a black-haired ghost in a blue overcoat. On March 1st, 1962, a plane with 87 passengers, 8 crew members, and 15 abstract paintings by Gorky crashed into a swamp 2 minutes after takeoff, killing everybody on board and destroying the paintings. According to Anthony Holstag, a researcher studying the aftermath of the Armenian genocide, the painting's work have come to symbolize everything we lost for many Armenian survivors, as well as offering an identity of a source of strength. So this particular painter during that time, these paintings causing all kinds of problems.
Just, wreaking havoc, basically, it sounds like.
We're near done here. Let's talk about these next couple of ones. Some of these are harder to find. There's one called Love Letters. This was painted by Richard King in the 1990s. This is on display at the Driskill Hotel in Austin, Texas. The expression of a girl in the painting, who is said to be Samantha Houston, is said to change whenever one looks away. So if you look away, you look back, she's in a different pose in the painting, as if she's alive when not being looked at. Guests have also reported dizziness, nausea, and feeling like they are floating or falling while viewing the painting. This next one, actually kind of relevant to the area we're in.
Really?
The self-depiction of Pogo the Clown.
Pogo the Clown, yeah.
The John Wayne Gacy serial killer. Go tune into any true crime podcast. You can learn more about him. I think Ghostly Podcast did a Joliet Prison episode, which briefly touched on him. John Wayne Gacy was not a good person.
No.
We'll just leave it
Not
at that.
all.
A self-portrait by a serial killer, John Wayne Gacy, depicting his alter ego, Pogo the Clown, was purchased by musician Nicky Stone for $3,000 in 2001, but began to regret the purchase when his dog passed away. His mother got cancer, which he attributed to the malicious influence of the painting. A friend offered to keep said painting, and soon after the friend's neighbor was killed in a car crash. The second friend took it for storage and later attempted to take their own life. The painting was never hung up and was given to a local art dealer, where it is currently unknown where it's at. And I have a feeling I know exactly who owns it.
I'm sure you do.
You know exactly who I'm thinking of.
Yes.
We'll talk about a couple more here. The next one is one of my favorites in the story, and that is the Rain Woman.
The Rain Woman.
The Rain Woman. This one is, once again, it's another unsettling piece of artwork. It is a woman with almost either her hair is stretched out or she's wearing a long black white brimmed hat, and she's wearing an all black dress, and it's a long stretched white face in the rain. Like, looking at it, again, goosebumps, folks, not lying to you. This was painted by Svetlana Telents in 1996. This painting is hidden from the general public. We don't know where it's at. It's not owned, it's just privately hidden. For 6 months prior to the creation of the painting, the artist Svetlana felt like she was constantly being watched. One day she was sitting in front of a blank canvas when a clear vision of her final painting appeared to her. Feeling like somebody was controlling her hand, she sketched the composition for 5 hours, then spent another month refining its details. After displaying it in a local art salon, multiple people successfully bought the painting, only to return it to the seller after describing a figure following them in their homes and dreams. One temporary owner described white eyes appearing everywhere he looked, and returned the painting with an offer to pay back half of the purchase price, fearing he might drown in the eyes if he kept looking at it any longer. The piece was eventually purchased by the musician Sergei Skachnoff in 2008, though reportedly his wife hid the painting after seeing a ghostly figure walking around their apartment at night. According to Archpriest Vitaly Golshchev, president of the Transfiguration Cathedral in Venetia, a person has a spirit and a soul. There are truly spiritual works of art. There are soulful ones, and the painting you are talking about represents such a soulful art, and it doesn't come from God. The artist put work in the mood in which he at the time of his writing, and is not known who the artist is at that moment.
Here's the thing, Bob, with these comments.
Yeah. Yes.
As well. And people got to take this consideration.
Uh-huh.
When you go into an antique mall or a flea market, maybe an all-night flea market.
Yes, I do.
You see a cool portrait. You see an eerie photo. Like, that's cool. I want to pick that up. Then things get weird. And maybe it's not be just portraits. For anything you're shopping around for, that's maybe antique. Think about it a little bit.
Listen, anything I buy, antique-y, I always, especially, son, no secret, I collect Ouija boards I find it at flea markets. They don't come in my house. They sweat it outside on the porch for a couple of days, and I threaten them before they come in the house.
Yeah, you got to do that.
I've had people reach out to me that say, I bought a desk, and now there's weird things happening in the house. You got to be careful when you buy things, guys, if you're, a believer in this sort of a thing, because you never know what's going to have an attachment.
No.
But go on to what you were saying.
I was going to say, exactly what you said there. Be careful what you buy.
Do we have a caller?
No.
Oh, you were reaching around the
The computer was screen went dark, so I had to fix it.
Yeah. Okay. But no, that's... you never know.
Yeah.
Well, it might be attached if it's haunted or just something attached.
Gotta be careful.
I always try, if it's not brand new, if it's something I find, or if I repurpose a piece of furniture, whatever it might be, I always make it sweat it out in the garage first, or the Ouija boards sit on the porch before I bring them in, and I tell them, you better behave when you come in the house.
Yeah.
And I've never had a problem yet.
Yeah.
Knock on wood.
Knock on wood.
Knock on wood. Knock on wood. None of my cats have been seen floating around lately.
That's always a plus.
Yes.
Yeah.
But what do you think of the Rain Woman?
Again, one of the terrifying ones, as they all are. But some of these have sad backstories to them, and they really kind of do make you think and ponder a little bit on just exactly what went down to get these photos to be so cursed.
You know what it is? It was Young Sherlock Holmes.
Young Sherlock Holmes.
Young Sherlock Holmes.
Figured it out.
The painting, maybe it wasn't. It came to my brain, then it was gone. At one point, this figure, this person was hiding in a painting and came out of the painting to shoot a blowgun at somebody to cause them to hallucinate, and then the figure was kind of moving around. Sorry, it came to me, and then I lost it. I thought it was Young Sherlock Holmes. Anyway, last one, and we're calling it a night. This one is called The Scariest Picture on the Internet Reel, and guess what it is, Count Panic? It's a creepypasta. It's unknown. It's made in the 2000s and exists on YouTube. An early internet creepypasta video claimed to show a portrait painted by a Japanese woman shortly before ending her own life, saying that anyone who stares in its eyes for more than 5 minutes will also suffer the same fate as her. And that has been a very famous creepypasta that's been floating around for a very long time.
Yeah.
I will tell you, by looking at these things digitally, I hope nothing bad happens. But there are some other scarier pieces too. Like some of these are just unsettling. I know I said I only had one more, but there's another one that I think people will be screaming at me if I don't talk about, and that's Untitled Painting. Untitled Painting is literally an army of skeletons clumped into a real nasty clump. There's faces all around them. There's a dude with horns next to a brick wall. There's a face on the ground with an arrow leading to a brick wall. It is a cluster. It's just called Untitled Painting. It is painted by ZDZISL with a slash through it, AW Benenski, BEKSINSKI. Zizla? I am not too sure. We need to get some Frank's, Big Frank's sausage. Give me a hand here. But that particular painting, nightmarishly unique art, seems like a scene from hell itself. But its legend surrounding them makes people think the pieces are cursed. The Polish painter did not title any of the paintings and reportedly burned a skeleton of them in his backyard without showing anyone. The painter's life was shrouded in tragedy, too, as his wife died in 1998 and his son eventually took his own life a year later. 6 years after the artist was found murdered in his apartment, there are people who believe that anyone who look at his paintings for a longer time will soon die.
You got a call.
Take the call live.
Normally it's a little past time.
It's past time. Who's on the phone? You're on the air, full caller.
Hey, buddy. When is John B. Wells? Come on.
What's that?
Oh, I think this person's looking for another person.
I think you're on the wrong air.
I think they're looking for another person there.
Sorry, caller.
Yeah, that was weird.
What? Oh, did they? I'm sorry.
I don't know. That was strange.
Did they just say John B. Wells?
I think they're looking for somebody else.
Yeah, sorry. You called WJOB. Are they still on the air?
You're on the air there.
Oh, you're on the air. Sorry. Oh, no, they're off.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no, that was kind of spooky.
Spooky.
John B. Wells.
He's haunting the studio.
I'm out of here.
Yes.
So there you go, Cow Panic. There goes our Haunted Paintings episode.
There you go. Wrap that.
What's on? Any closing words for the audience?
My closing words pretty much the same as the old closing words.
As I added one more piece to the list here.
Kind of same as the old closing words. Be careful what you buy out there. Be careful what you buy.
Be careful what you look at too, man. I'm going to have nightmares tonight. I'm going to call you.
Yes.
When I have nightmares later.
Yeah. Well, be careful, Bob.
Absolutely.
We had we had people knock on the window tonight.
Oh, yeah, we have a strange call. I'm out. I'm calling it.
A couple of phone calls.
I'm calling it.
We had craziness down the block.
Yeah, it's just been a weird night, guys. I'm going home.
All right.
I'm going home.
Sounds good.
Folks, thank you so much for watching and listening to another episode of Bob After Dark. Been your host, Bob, and my dad, wherever you are in the universe. I just hope you're happy, comfortable, and enjoying whatever it is that's next. Mom, I just want to wish you sweet dreams, and to Tiff, no matter where you are in the world, I just want to wish you the sweetest dreams of them all. Good night, everybody, and remember the two most important rules of Bob After Dark are not all who wander are lost, and as above, so below. Until next time.
Memoriam Development.